Hey everyone, Az here, and this particular video is really about answering a question that I get from time to time about scales, because a lot of people hate scales, just really hate scales, and don't understand why do you even need to practice scales, and why you want to spend time on scales, or how you should spend time on scales, and all these kind of. Hey Chris, how you doing? So I know some of my students really hate practicing scales or playing scales or learning scales. They see no relationship. So in this video, I'm going to try to make this as concise as possible. But I'm going to talk about 4 reasons why you should practice scales, and also why it's useful to practice scales. And this actually will work on any instrument, except that you just need to know the scale fingerings, but the concepts will remain the same. So at any point you guys have a question, you feel free to ask, and I'll try to answer. The questions. But the first one, guys, okay, why do people practice scales? A lot of classical musicians practice scales for technique. So talking specifically for guitar, how do you practice it? One of the most common scale fingerings I learned when I started was one derived from the Segovia scale. Segovia scales is named after Andres Segovia, and Andres Segovia, prominent classical guitarist, kind of the father of the modern classical guitar, made the classical guitar an accepted instrument within classical circles, classical music circles. And so he had a series of scale fingerings that were designed for developing technique. And that's the first reason scales are very good, is to develop technique. So I'll show you one of the scale fingerings from his book, but I'm going to use a pick for this one right now. The fingering is this. This is C major. And the concept here is, the main thing that I got from practicing this is that you want to practice this to get fluidity in this part, the shift here. So from the A to the B to the C. And if you were doing this on classical, the way he did it, you would probably do alternating, a lot of different fingerings, but you can alternate between the I and the M. So that one is an example of practicing scales for technique. So if you're curious about developing shifting technique, that's one that I would recommend, is getting the Segovia scales. And getting the Segovia, well, all sorts of emotions coming up here. Getting the Segovia scales is a really good book to get. It's more like a pamphlet, but the fingerings are actually quite interesting. And I think I got into it again because of Adam Rogers has a really good video on guitar technique, and he talks about how he would work through the Segovia scales, and that got me curious about it again. So number 1, practicing scales for technique, which is kind of one of the primary reasons musicians from classical circles practice scales. Second one is ear training. You know, when you're practicing scales, you get to develop your ears. So if I was, for example, taking the same scale, and you hear that. That's the major second. And then you can take the scale again and so that's a major second, that's a major third, and do, fa, then do, si, ti. And so this one right now is learning scales for ear training, learning the intervals, and then trying the same thing, maybe from the higher C going down. So I'm going back. So you have and then going down. And although that you are kind of developing technique here as well as you're doing this, but the purpose here is to develop ear training to know how that sounds like. How that sounds like. And so while doing all this, kind of getting a good sound as well. So that's the second one, which is practicing scales for ear training purposes, to develop your ear and know how that sounds. Same thing. So developing your ear while you're practicing the scales, and it's a different purpose from the first one, which was for technique. And so in a way, practicing scales, the important part about practicing scales is actually knowing why you're practicing the scales, and then from knowing the reason, then you can derive the technique or the strategy, rather than just, a lot of people associate practicing scales to just doing. And although there is somewhat a benefit from doing that, you're really missing out on the real benefits when you practice with a goal in mind, with a sense of purpose. That having a sense of purpose changes the way what you look out for, the results that you're looking out for. So it's really good when you practice to figure out why you're practicing it first, and then figure out the right strategy, the right way to practice the scales. So next one is, the third reason is to understand the fretboard. Now, when I learn a scale, for example, let's say same thing, the 1 octave C major scale, right? C major. I can play that in many places on the guitar. So I might want to use this position, which is nice. But what if I want to extend it up here? What if I wanted to start it here? What if I wanted to play it here? So you can see that the same scale can be played in many positions. Many positions on the guitar. So at this point, I am really trying to understand the fretboard. This is what, in Berkeley, I think a class that I was teaching in the summer guitar sessions, this is part of fretboard harmony, which is understanding the fretboard. So although you are developing your ear, developing your technique, the purpose here is to see this on the fretboard. So if I wanted to do C major here, I can also do it here. I can do it here. I can do it here. And that changes the way, kind of the way you look at the exercises, because now I'm not trying to get speed, I'm not trying to get necessarily technique, but I'm trying to understand the fretboard. So that's reason number 3, and that's the way I would practice it. So you could do it with any scale you want. It could be a minor pentatonic, A minor pentatonic, or it could be, so there's a lot of different fingerings that you can use to learn those that A minor pentatonic, and this is purely to understand the fretboard. Hey, Ahmad Fatih in the house. Just gonna share this real quick. So now, the last one is tip number 4, reason number 4 why you should practice scales is for composing on improvisation. And this is different now. The first one was to develop technique, second one was for ear training, third one was for understanding the fretboard. But now, if you want to learn scales for improvisation, it's not enough to just do, because I don't know how many times you're going to jam. I mean, you could do that. I mean, it's kind of a sama-sama. So, although I could do that, it's not the only way I hear scales. It's not the thing that when you hear a solo, you don't hear someone going for the entire solo. You can hear stuff like, or you might hear or that you might hear, or you might hear, you hear different melodies in solos and in compositions, and so you want to, after you learn the scale, the next step is to learn different melodic patterns. So one really common pattern is just in thirds. So it's just C, E, D, F. Just a moment. Okay, so that's one pattern. Another one that's kind of nice is if you play triads, diatonic triads. C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, D diminished. And the thing is that all these are just different ways to play the major scale, because it's still the same notes. For the major scale, the scale is just a collection of notes, and you can play them in any order you want. Or you can play them as, So there's all these different kind of sequences that you can use in order to make the scale sound less like a scale that goes up and down. You can go up, go down, or you can go up and down. that sounds more interesting than just. And so that's reason number 4, is when you practice scales for composition and improvisation, you want to learn them in melodic patterns, melodic sequences, learning melodies, really. I mean, if you hear a melody. So anytime you play them as kind of melodies or sequences, you develop material for a composition and improvisation, and that is a different approach than the first 3. So just to summarize everything that we covered here today, there are at least 4 different reasons why you should practice scales. Number 1 was for technique, to be able to physically move around the guitar a little bit better, to be able to develop speed, develop accuracy on the instrument. So that's reason number 1, technique. Number 2 is for ear training, to develop your ears and be able to hear all these melodies and find them on the instrument, from your ear to the instrument. From when you listen to a recording or someone soloing, you hear it and you're like, okay, I know where that is on the guitar, let me find it. The third one is to understand the fretboard, so that when you're playing on the guitar, it's not just a blank space, random fretboard thing. You can start somewhere and go somewhere else because you understand the fretboard. You know where these notes are. You know where major scale fingerings are, minor pentatonics are. Hello, Ellen. Hello, Hyrie. And you know where all these notes on the guitar are, so you can play melodies much faster. You can learn songs much faster. You can create better solos and melodies. So that's understanding the fretboard, reason number 3. Number 4 is for composition and improvisation. And this is when you're learning scales, practicing them in different sequences and ideas, so that you can create better songs, so that you can create better improvisations. And so it's important to know why practicing scales is useful. And when you know why it's useful, when you do practice scales, you will end up likely having better practice sessions. And I feel it's always important to know why you want to practice something and what you want to get out of it. And so that's kind of the 4 things: technique, ear training, understanding the fretboard, and for composition and improvisation. So those are my tips for how to practice scales on guitar and why. So does anyone have any questions? I'll take maybe 1 question before taking off. Does anyone have any questions? I'll wait for a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm going to go off just now. If you guys just tune in to the video, you'll be able to watch it again. I'm going to probably take this video and post it on YouTube as well. And hopefully this helps you out. If you guys have any questions, post questions, and I'll try to do videos maybe like this if people like it. Do videos where I answer 1 question and I planned out the answers for you guys. I wrote some things here. And so hopefully these videos can help you out. If you think anyone might benefit from this, share the video. And let me just check. I think someone just no. Okay, anyways. So if you guys like the video, If you guys think it might help someone else, share it. And if you guys have questions, just please type out the questions. Hey, Zulkarnain. So I'm going to take off now. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and see you again in a future broadcast.